The following readings are from both the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita. Each week we read from both scriptures as prescribed by Yoganandaji and from his guru Sri Yukteswar, who was guided by Babaji to compare the two scriptures to show the same underlying truths between them. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. This week's topic is the importance of soul-receptivity. This passage is from the Bhagavad Gita, the 10th chapter, the 10th and 11th stanzas. To those who are ever attached to me, who worship me with love, I impart discernment, by means of which they attain me. Out of my love for them, I, the divine within them, set a light in them, the radiant lamp of wisdom, thereby dispelling the darkness of their ignorance. Here, the Bhagavad Gita speaks of the importance of divine grace in the search for God. Human striving alone can never lift the spiritual aspirant into divine realms. Many students of yoga make the mistake of thinking that by their willpower alone, exerted through the daily practice of breathing exercises, physical postures, and meditation techniques, they will attain cosmic consciousness. Their approach to the spiritual life is almost as if God were a sort of divine mountain to be conquered in a spirit of mountaineering bravado. This is hardly the spirit in which to approach yoga, that highest of spiritual sciences. Such misguided aspirants fail to realize that the secret of effective yoga practice, like that of any true spiritual practice, is deep love. Plumbing the depths of ego rather than those of the soul, they separate themselves from their fellow man in an attitude of spiritual aloofness and end up drowning in the delusion of pride. The essence of spiritual development always is steadily increasing receptivity to God's light and grace through deep, humble love for the Lord. The goal of yoga practice, then, is simply this: to deepen one's receptivity by stilling the body, mind, and emotions, thereby making oneself more sensitively aware of the movement of divine grace within. As spiritual aspirants, we must open ourselves to receive God in ourselves. The Bhagavad Gita shows us the way. That spiritual aspirant can receive God truly in himself who practices attachment to Him instead of to the world, who lovingly worships Him as a means of driving out of the heart all worldly infatuation, who holds fast to an attitude of mental openness and humility, in which soil alone discriminative wisdom or discernment can flourish, who invites God's light into the darkest corners of his being, and who, above all, surrenders to the infinite love. In God's love for us, and in the power of loving, which that love awakens in us, we can receive the grace by which alone our souls can know God. And in the Bible, the Gospel of St. John states, "But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name." This was a passage Paramahansa Yogananda often quoted to his disciples. "Be in tune," he would tell them. "Delusion can't touch you if you will keep in tune." "A few of you will fall," he said once, "but it needn't be if you would stay in tune." Of a disciple who became highly advanced, even though she didn't meditate much, he said she got there by attunement. To one who found meditation difficult, he said, "I will meditate for you as long as you stay in tune." Truth is a state of consciousness, not a well-worded definition. It is in that consciousness, above all, that our lives are transformed. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om. Om.
Good morning, everyone. So glad you could make it. It's great having a full temple, isn't it? The vibrations become more and more deep in this temple the more people come here in person, even though we understand some people are online and can't come. And we're glad to have that offering. But to come here and receive the blessings from this temple is a big deal. And the vibrations can't be gotten over a camera. You have to come here and experience. Experience is the key for all of us in having any kind of feelings during our meditation. I wanted to start out, though, first of all, I have to say that reading, when I found that it was for this week, I was just so happy. One of my favorite topics, developing love in the heart more and more deeply so that you can feel God's presence and feel His calmness deep inside. And it takes getting rid of your restlessness as much as possible to appreciate God's presence inside. But first I wanted to read this. This is a poem that Yoganandaji wrote about his guru. And it's perfect, isn't it, to have a discipleship today, and that we are reading our guru's poem to his guru. Thou light of my life, thou camest to spread wisdom's glow over the path of my soul. Centuries of darkness shifted before the march of thy benign help. As a naughty baby, I cried for my divine mother, and she came to me as my guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar. At that meeting, O my Guru, a spark flew from thee, and the faggots of my God cravings, gathered through incarnations, smoldered and blazed into bliss. All my questions are answered through thy flaming golden touch. Eternal, ever-present satisfaction has come to me through thy glory. My Guru, thou voice of God, I found thee in response to my soul cries. Slumbers of sorrow are gone, and I am awake in bliss. Our souls met after years of waiting. They trembled with an omnipresent thrill. We met here because we had met before. Together we will fly to his shores, and then we will smash our planes of finitude forever and vanish into our infinite life. I bow to thee as the spoken voice of silent God. I bow to thee as the divine door leading to the temple of salvation. I bow to thee, to thy master, Lahiri Mahashaya, harbinger of yoga in Bengal, and I lay the flowers of my devotion at the feet of Babaji, our supreme master. You know, one thing we find often happens here is people will come and say, oh, I can't devote my life to God because I can't become a brahmacharya or a swami, and so, you know, how I can't devote my life. Well, people don't realize Dharmarajan and I, Prasanna, we all work during the day. We're not just sitting around meditating in the temple all day waiting for people to come. There's a lot of work that happens with supporting this work. Hundreds of Kriyabans now, and you know, maybe a couple hundred disciples, I'm not sure. But we have a lot of work that we do. And so it's a struggle for everybody in their work to bring God's presence into your work. And you saw how there was an affirmation today even about work. And we can approach our work in a way that where we feel we are serving God. No matter what we do, we have that ability to do that. We don't have to separate ourselves and say, oh, I can't devote as much as I want. Everybody needs to have something important to do during the daytime that has value for them. And of course, meditation in the morning and the evening is what we always suggest. And so it's not about just sitting around in some temple meditating all the time, and that's the way you get deeper. It's not. It's about our daily attitude, our attitude minute by minute in our life, and our awareness that we grow through meditation. I remember when I first started out, I was very restless. I was very probably emotional. I came with an intuition that has really helped me through my life. But in order for that intuition to be trusted, you have to gain calmness. And so, you can't just start out and say, I demand that I am calm now. You have to work for it. You have to work towards it. You have to learn to be content in the present moment with your life as it is. And content. And even in that affirmation, Swamiji said, if we're living in the future, I wish things were this way, I wish things were that way, then we lose all of our ability to feel that divine grace that is happening inside. One of my favorite quotes from the reading today, from the Bhagavad Gita, if I can find it. Okay. The goal of yoga practice, then, is simply this: to deepen one's receptivity by stilling the body, mind, and emotions, thereby making oneself more sensitively aware of the movement of divine grace within. Did it say the goal of yoga is to meditate 3, 4, 5 hours a day without sitting still, without moving one muscle in your body, including your tongue? Yes, that's something Patanjali says, but that isn't the goal, is it? Meditation is not the goal. Meditation is a tool, and a very powerful tool, and a very important thing we do to gain that to gain the loss of restlessness, I should say. It's not some, hooray, I meditated today. It's not that. It's like, I meditated, of course. That's how things go. I meditate, and now I face the day with God's consciousness in my mind. It's not, I was able to meditate for 3 or 4 hours today. What did you do? We hear that. And it's like, that's not what this path is about at all. I heard one person, though, say on the extreme other end, well, I didn't hear it, but I heard it one way or another, that Kriya is only some technique, and that anyone who says that has not learned from this path. Our meditations are not just a technique. They're, like I said, it's a tool that we use to gain insight inside of ourselves, but it also opens up on a very deep spiritual level our ability to feel the presence of God and to accelerate our spiritual growth. And so we have these things that we do, but they're not separate from our life. We don't compartmentalize our life and think, okay, here's my work, here's my family, here's the meditation I do. It's all together. Where we came from in California, Dharmarajan and I lived at Ananda Village for many years. But before that, we lived in Palo Alto, Ananda Palo Alto, the heart of Silicon Valley, if even it is Silicon Valley anymore. I heard all these people were moving to Texas. But in any case, we basically grew up at Ananda there. I was there for about 12 years before moving on to Ananda Village and then to Ananda India, the first round, and so on and so on. But in Ananda Palo Alto, it's in the middle of a city, a very busy city, and most of the people there work full-time jobs, and they are seeking God and not thinking, oh, I can't find him because I can't meditate all day long. And I basically grew up in a community like that. And it might be because there's a cultural difference between Americans and Indians. Indians get to see yogis and people pursuing the spiritual life and saints in as a reality in life. I think for Americans, it's more like some theoretical thing that could happen that I read about in the autobiography of a yogi. Here, we can actually travel to Babaji's cave and feel the vibrations. We can actually travel to where these saints are and feel it and have an experience there. So, there is a cultural difference. But one thing that I never heard there was, I can't do that because I can't meditate all day long. I never heard that. Maybe I should have, but I never heard that. And so this is a very practical path, very, very practical. Anyone with a sincere heart can do this, anyone. And anyone who wants to open their heart and feel the presence of God can. Anyone can. And it's just possible for everybody. And what Kriya does is it helps you do that even more. Hong Sa is very powerful, very glad we all have it. It's important to do it daily, twice a day with the rest of our meditation. But Kriya, as Master said, is the airplane route to God. And it is. And most of all, it brings this calmness that allows you to feel divine grace flowing within, just like it said here. And I wanted to read another thing that Swamiji wrote. This is also from the Bhagavad Gita. It is important for the spiritual aspirant to realize that in seeking God, he doesn't earn anything. Divine grace is still a gift of compassion and may be withheld from those who follow the law exactly, but who perhaps out of dryness of heart fail to win his love. God may, on the other hand, reward with the highest wisdom those who, in their surrender of perfect devotion, love him alone. Through the intervention of the Satguru alone do such blessings come. And so we work on our heart. We work on that restlessness that's there. This society is just filled with YouTube and every movie you could possibly want to watch on 10 different streaming channels, and just all the video games you want and anything you want. And what happens if we don't at least balance that with the inner is we live outward. And then we approach the spiritual path that way. As Swamiji said in the writing, we visualize the yogic path as some mountain. We have to, get our yogic muscles strong so that we can then march up that mountain with all the willpower we have possible. And that's not how it is. There is deep willpower involved, as we all know, in just meditating daily and meditating for a long time and sitting still. That's the willpower we're talking about on one level. Also, it gives us willpower to accomplish in life and to have our life integrated in a spiritual way, no matter what our work is. But that restlessness is key. And we find people have a lot of fire in the beginning of the path and say, I want to do this and I know I'm in it for life. And then they get bored. They say, the readings I read all the books and I've watched all the Swami videos. And hey, there's this new guy on YouTube that's really fun to watch. Let's do that. And, I was at the library and I saw this other book, and it's exactly like Yogananda's teachings. And it's like, no, Yogananda said you need to be loyal to this path if you're devoting your life to him as your guru. All gurus say that. You find a guru, you stick with that guru. They're your Satguru. Satguru is the one that takes you to God. Other gurus are the ones that were spiritual friends that helped you along the way. And there's another really great quote from Master. It is extremely necessary to remember that in the beginning it is wise to compare many spiritual paths and teachers. But when the real guru and the real teaching is found, then the restless search must cease. The thirsty one should not keep seeking wells, but should go to the best well and daily drink its nectar. That is why in India, in the beginning we seek many until we find the right path and the right master, and then remain loyal to him through death and eternity until final emancipation. That's what that means. And if we're getting bored, it means, and I have compassion for this, we're just not going deep. We're just not going deep in our meditations. We're not trying to open the heart. We're just not. We're busy with things. We're doing our duties, and we're not taking time to open the heart. We're not taking time to feel God's love. We're not taking time to feel that presence within, that calmness that you can get in meditation. You don't have to be a saint to feel it. You do not have to be a saint. You don't have to be someone who's been on the path for 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year. You don't have to do that to feel that calmness, to feel the love, the joy, the peace, the power of God, all of these aspects of the divine. You don't have to be a saint to feel them. There's nothing between, no barrier between you and all that experience of the divine. There's no barrier except the barrier of restlessness and the lack of an open heart. That's all it is. One way we can open our heart is through kindness, kind acts. Swamiji spoke about kindness a lot. And it's a whole different way of looking at life, especially here, I have found. And that is by not comparing ourselves to others and say, why you, not me? By being happy in other people's achievements, by being happy, suppose two of you are up for the same job, and the other person gets the job and you didn't. Do you then go up to that person and say, I should have had that? You do here. But how about, you know what? I know you're going to do a good job. I know that you'll do it in your own way, and you'll do a good job in your way. And then you have the belief that the right thing is going to come to you. As soon as you say, why you, not me? As soon as you say that, you are closing off all your options, and you're becoming self-centered and selfish about things. That causes unhappiness. That causes that inner joy to not be able to flow. As soon as we begin to give kindness and joy to others, and also feel that kindness, and maybe it starts out as just healing prayers for others. You hear about someone who has a need, do a healing prayer. And just try to open up. I've always felt, and Master and Swamiji would affirm this about this path, the people on this path can represent a very kind group of people, can really come together. You know, if you come together as a community, there's no place for unkindness. There's no place for it. You have to wish each other well, otherwise why even come? If I were entering Ananda and someone would have said to me, why you, not me, and I would have felt uncomfortable around them, like, what's going on here? I thought this was a place where you're supposed to be able to be open-hearted. I thought this was a place where you can just be yourself and feel supported in your spiritual path. What's all this political stuff coming at me? It's crazy when that happens. I've seen it happen here lots. It's like, no. Or people confronting you about how long is your meditation and my meditation is better than yours. Again, meditation, how much you meditate, your ability to meditate, has nothing to do with the person you are. The person you are is, do you smile from an inner joy that is within you? Or do you smile because you think it looks right? You know, I am smiling now. Don't I look like I'm smiling? You know, but there's no joy inside. We want to have that smile radiate the joy inside. And this happens on this path for anybody. There is no separation that keeps you from feeling that inner joy, from expressing that inner joy, from feeling kindness, from expressing kindness. There is nothing that holds you back. Nothing. You can do it. And what comes with that, when we give ourselves that ability to feel, then that's when you feel God's presence. That's when you feel that bliss that comes with this path. Bliss. And once you have that bliss, you never say, I'm bored. Once you feel the inner presence of the divine, you never say you're bored. And you may have it come, and then, oh, where did it go? I had some bliss come to me, or I had some deep calmness experience, and we try and grasp at the experience. But you have to just say, Master, it was a gift from your compassion that I was able to feel that. And I hope I can feel it again. And in the meantime, I'm going to love you with all my heart, all my mind, all my soul, and just give you my love as much as possible. Because there's pleasure in giving the divine that love. There's deep pleasure that comes from it. With that pleasure, you never get bored. You never start searching around. It's only when the mind needs to be satisfied because it's cut off from the heart that we get that bored feeling, that we say, what about that guy? And what about that one? And it happens to everybody. But what happens is you get out of tune. That's the word for it, what Master was saying in the reading, out of tune, out of attunement. When we start following someone else's beliefs, following someone else, even though they're exactly like you, when you start following that, the problem is the teachings are not the issue, it's the vibration. And so Master often said, people have come to me because of the vibrations I put into Autobiography of a Yogi. I put my vibrations into that. It's thrilling. But you read someone else, they put their vibrations into that. You watch other videos, they put their vibrations into that. That vibration is what brought us to this planet. That's the Satguru vibration. When we came down from the astral world to here, we were following a vibration. The vibration of our Guru. And when we go back to God, we follow a vibration that takes us back to astral or wherever we're going next. And it's that vibration that we are tuning into when we say, Master, I am your discipleship. I am your disciple. And when we say, I want Kriya, when we're meditating with Kriya, we feel that vibration. It's so deep. And who doesn't want a little peace in their life when their mind is like all caught up in everybody else and everybody else outside of them? You got to just push all of that away and say, how am I in the here and now with the divine? What's going on right here, right now, inside of me? How am I feeling right now, right here? It's a joy, and it makes this path a joy, and it makes it very simple. There's no politics. There's no competition. Because what are you going to say? I have more joy than you. Actually, I'm calmer than you. So, who can do that? Nobody. Is that where we compete? I knew one woman who had something called chronic fatigue syndrome. And she was someone who had her PhD in library science and had done all this outer work and outer ability to just conquer the world, basically, in everything she did. She felt so accomplished and then found the path, and then she developed chronic fatigue, and it forced her to quit her job, and she had to do other things where she said, I used to always judge myself by what I could accomplish, what I could do. But what I learned was I have to, if I'm going to judge myself, it's how much peace did I feel today? How much calmness, how much kindness did I pass on to others? How much did I love God today? It was as though she had a complete transformation. And even though it was not fun to live with constant pain every day, and she kept working on trying to heal better, but she completely changed everything around and found that inner happiness that she needed to. Who knows? Maybe the divine planned on giving her that illness so that she could learn these deep lessons. I've lost track of her. I hope she's doing okay these days. But you never know why things happen in your life, what they're meant for. And for instance, you lose a job, but then you find another one that pays a little less, but you get to spend more time with your family. Or there's all sorts of things that happen when we have things happen in our life, and we have to have our mind open to why is this better than before, Master? And if not, then help me move to my next step. And just have an open mind about where our life is flowing. So I wish all the new disciples lots of blessings in this. I hope this talk has not made you want to not become a disciple now. But know that it is the doorway to true freedom and the doorway to everlasting bliss and love. Okay, thank you.